Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, just needing some jam for your toast. You find the aisle, expecting a simple choice. Instead, you're confronted by a wall of jam. Strawberry, raspberry, blueberry, so far so good. But then, the variations hit you. Sugar-free, organic, with chia seeds. Suddenly, a simple errand becomes a dizzying exercise in decision-making. This, my friends, is the paradox of choice in action. We often assume that more options equal more freedom and happiness. After all, who doesn't love having choices? But what if this abundance of options is actually making us miserable? This is the central question explored in the concept of the paradox of choice. Instead of leading to greater satisfaction, an excess of choices can lead to anxiety, paralysis, and even regret. The paradox of choice suggests that, while some choice is undoubtedly good, too much choice can be detrimental to our well-being. It's a counterintuitive idea that challenges our deeply held beliefs about freedom and happiness. The truth is, navigating a world saturated with choices can feel less like liberation and more like a burden. The term paradox of choice was popularized by psychologist Barry Schwartz in his book of the same name. Schwartz argues that while a certain degree of autonomy and choice is essential for well-being, an excess of options can lead to negative psychological consequences. We become overwhelmed, struggle to make decisions, and end up less satisfied with our choices, even when they are objectively good ones. This paradox arises from several key factors. First, an abundance of options increases the cognitive load of decision-making. Our brains are forced to process more information, weigh more variables, and anticipate more potential outcomes. This can lead to mental fatigue, decision fatigue, and ultimately, a diminished capacity for making sound choices. Second, the paradox of choice highlights the difference between maximizers and satisficers. Maximizers are driven to find the absolute best option, investing significant time and energy into researching and comparing all possibilities. Satisficers, on the other hand, are content with finding an option that meets their needs, even if it's not objectively the best. In a world of infinite choices, maximizers are prone to feeling overwhelmed and dissatisfied, while satisficers are more likely to experience contentment. One of the most common consequences of choice overload is analysis paralysis. This occurs when we become so overwhelmed by the sheer number of options that we struggle to make any decision at all. We get stuck in a loop of endlessly comparing alternatives, weighing pros and cons, and second-guessing ourselves, ultimately delaying or even avoiding the decision altogether. Think back to our jam aisle example. Faced with dozens of varieties, you might find yourself standing there for an absurd amount of time, comparing ingredients, sugar content, and reviews. The irony is that this extended deliberation doesn't necessarily lead to a better choice. In fact, it often leads to increased anxiety, frustration, and a sense of being trapped in a cycle of indecision. Analysis paralysis isn't limited to grocery shopping. It can manifest in various aspects of our lives, from choosing a restaurant for dinner to making major life decisions like buying a house or accepting a job offer. The more options we have, the more susceptible we become to this debilitating state of indecision. Another insidious consequence of the paradox of choice is the rise of inflated expectations. When presented with an abundance of options, we naturally assume that the perfect choice exists somewhere within that vast pool of possibilities. We set our sights on finding the ideal job, the perfect partner, the most amazing vacation destination, all thanks to the illusion of endless choices. The problem is that this relentless pursuit of perfection sets us up for disappointment. The reality is that no single choice is inherently perfect, and even the best options come with their own set of compromises and trade-offs. By fixating on finding the absolute best, we become less likely to appreciate the good choices we do make. This tyranny of expectations can lead to a chronic sense of dissatisfaction, even when our lives are objectively good. We become haunted by the what-ifs and could-have-beens, constantly wondering if we could have been happier, more fulfilled, or more successful had we made different choices. The paradox of choice doesn't end with high expectations. It also opens the door to a potent dose of regret. When we have an abundance of options, it becomes easier to imagine that a different choice would have led to a better outcome. We ruminate on the paths not taken, second-guessing our decisions and blaming ourselves for any perceived shortcomings. This phenomenon is amplified by the availability heuristic. a cognitive bias where we tend to overestimate the likelihood of events that are easily recalled. In the context of choice, this means we're more likely to dwell on the negative aspects of our chosen option and the perceived advantages of the options we rejected. The more choices we have, the more opportunities we have for regret. This can lead to a vicious cycle of self-doubt, dissatisfaction, and a diminished ability to enjoy the present moment. We become trapped in a mental prison of our own making, constantly replaying past decisions and agonizing over their perceived consequences. The paradox of choice is not a new phenomenon. Ancient philosophers like the Stoics grappled with similar questions about choice, happiness, and the human condition. Stoicism, a school of Hellenistic philosophy, offers valuable insights into navigating the challenges of choice overload in the modern world. One of the central tenets of Stoicism is the idea of focusing on what we can control and accepting what we cannot. The Stoics believed that true happiness and tranquility come from accepting the present moment as it is, rather than dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. This philosophy encourages us to let go of our need for absolute control, and instead, focus our energy on making the best of the choices available to us. Epicurus, another ancient Greek philosopher, emphasized the importance of finding pleasure in simple things and cultivating contentment with what we have. In a world saturated with choices, this message resonates deeply. By shifting our focus from external validation to internal satisfaction, we can liberate ourselves from the tyranny of choice overload. The digital age has exacerbated the paradox of choice in unprecedented ways. The internet has opened up a Pandora's box of options, from endless streaming services and online shopping platforms to social media platforms and dating apps. While these advancements offer convenience and connectivity, they also contribute to an overwhelming sense of choice overload. Social media in particular presents a curated highlight reel of other people's lives, leading to social comparison and a constant feeling of FOMO, fear of missing out. Dating apps, while offering the promise of finding love, can transform the search for a partner into a seemingly endless game of swiping and judging, often leaving users feeling more disposable than desired. Even seemingly simple tasks, like choosing a restaurant for dinner or booking a flight, have become more complex with the sheer volume of options available online. The digital age has undoubtedly expanded our possibilities, but it has also amplified the potential for choice overload and its accompanying anxieties. So how do we navigate this sea of choices and reclaim our sense of agency and well-being? Here are a few practical tips to combat choice overload. Limit your options. Instead of endlessly browsing, set a limit on the number of options you'll consider for a particular decision. Embrace good enough, don't get caught up in the pursuit of perfection. Focus on finding options that meet your needs, even if they're not objectively the best. Set clear priorities. Identify your values and use them as guiding principles when making decisions. This will help you narrow down your options and make choices that align with your goals. Practice gratitude. Cultivate a sense of appreciation for the choices you've made and the things you have in your life. Gratitude can help shift your focus from what you lack to what you already possess. Disconnect from the digital world. Take regular breaks from social media, online shopping, and other platforms that contribute to choice overload. By implementing these strategies, we can regain control over our choices and create a more fulfilling and less overwhelming life. The paradox of choice challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about happiness, freedom, and the role of choice in our lives. It suggests that more isn't always better and that true contentment often lies in simplifying, prioritizing, and finding joy in the choices we do make. Instead of viewing constraints as limitations, we can begin to see them as opportunities for focus, creativity, and deeper satisfaction. By embracing limitations, we free ourselves from the burden of endless possibilities and open ourselves up to the joy of meaningful engagement with the world around us. The pursuit of happiness in a world of unlimited options requires a shift in perspective. It's about recognizing that true freedom comes not from having more choices, but from making conscious, deliberate choices that align with our values and contribute to our overall well-being. It's about finding contentment in the present moment, appreciating the good in our lives and recognizing that happiness is not a destination but a journey. And sometimes that journey is best traveled on a path with a few less forks in the road.